Thanks for joining us on another fun episode of Southern Indiana Now. We are locked in with some special guests today. Super excited about guests in all four of our categories. And first up, Hoosier Homestead. But this episode of Southern Indiana Now brought to you by Crossroads Acoustic Fest. Now's the time to get your tickets. This is an intimate way to have a fun setting with artists. And these are artists that you're going to be hard pressed to go see kind of all individually. They're all in one location. That's going to be happening towards the end of April in Jackson County. So you can get your tickets today, but you can go to crossroadsacousticfest.com, get logged in, get your tickets. Have a fantastic weekend already in store for all the listening rooms, and it's going to be a fun experience. You don't want to miss it. All right, someone else is fun. I definitely was so excited to bring you today is Miss Kathy Bird. Super excited to talk with her about all things real estate. We're going to be talking into some fun stories, like off the cuff a little bit. So thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Yeah, so excited to have you. And tell me, where can people find you? So first of all, if someone's listening to the show from wherever, they're thinking about buying a house, you service like all of Southern Indiana, which is why we wanted to feature you. But tell me about where you're located and all that fun stuff.
Well, I work for Schuler Bauer Real Estate, who have offices in New Albany, Seymour, Corydon, and then several in Louisville, Kentucky. So I actually service from Jeffersonville, Indiana, all the way to Columbus and all the towns in between. So it's a large area to coverage, but since I am familiar with all those areas and I love Southern and South Central Indiana, it's just a great area for me to cover.
I love that. All right, so let's talk about it. What's the craziest house you've ever sold in Southern Indiana?
Oh my gosh, I love that question. One particularly memorable property I sold featured an attic that the owner said had a ghost named Bob. And she said that he rearranged her furniture all the time. And I never really found out if she was just an untidy homeowner, if there really was a ghost named Bob. And unfortunately, I told the new homeowners, I can't promise you Bob will be included in the sale. But it was always memorable because I never found out for sure if the house really was haunted.
Oh, okay. I love that. I mean, kind of.
Yeah.
I guess if I'm not buying it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So since you kind of go all over Southern Indiana, what's some hidden gem neighborhoods that are people like, oh man, I know you might live in Clark County, or I know you might live in Washington, but you should consider maybe a neighborhood over here in this other county. So let's talk about that.
Right. Yeah, so obviously, since I cover all those areas, I can highlight neighborhoods that I specifically like in town that I've actually lived in. Mutton Creek Estates, the Little Lake area, there's Persimmon Lakes, there is Rockford Heights, Sunset Parkway is a great
and
little
those are all
community.
in Jackson,
These
right?
are all in Jackson. And then Redbud Meadows is a new subdivision here in town that has experienced extreme growth. And then, of course, in New Albany and Jeffersonville, there's all kinds of quaint little areas that are located close to downtown within walking distance, restaurants. It's just a thriving. So location is obviously very important. Yeah. All those areas would have great resale.
So what's the funniest or weirdest thing you've ever seen when showing a house? Maybe not Bob, the ghost, but...
Well, I've showed a house where they had a very elaborate home theater system in the basement. And it was dark when we walked down there, and I saw something in the corner. When I turned the lights, it looked like a man's figure, but it was actually a life-size cutout of Tom Cruise.
Oh.
And it was so funny.
Did he come with the house?
Yeah, I don't know if that stayed or not, but
look at you delivering celebrities with the purchase.
Exactly. So I don't know if that was included in the sale, but I never forgot that because it was definitely a unique experience.
Yeah. Okay. So when people are thinking about, maybe it's first time home ownership, or they're, it's getting spring, people are thinking about putting their house up for sale. What's your take on the HGTV effect? I know people liking the shows and they think, I need to do X, Y, and Z. What do people actually need to do?
Well, I always enjoy watching those shows, but it certainly has made home buyers more discerning, leading to, heightened expectations about renovations. But it does create challenges for sellers because, especially if their homes haven't been updated. So HGTV often portrays the home buying process as very simple. You look at 3 houses, you select one and you buy one, when sometimes I show as little as 3 or as many as 20 before they actually make a decision. So the process is a lot more complex than is portrayed on TV.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're thinking about buying a house in Southern Indiana, what are some things that you tell people? What's some of the first things that they need to look for? I mean, do people actually need to, what do they need to redo things beforehand? Or, as a buyer, what are some of the things you're looking for?
Well, I think obviously they always say location, location, location. So I think definitely prioritize location, taking into account things like proximity to schools, amenities. A desirable location is key because it can enhance both your
Yeah.
lifestyle and resale value.
Yeah.
So I would
I
say
love that.
location would be the key.
So when people are thinking about a real estate agent, Kathy, what should they need to look for? How can they get in touch with you? You seem real connected to all the areas in Southern Indiana, which really opens up people to choices.
Well, I think when you're looking for a real estate agent, you should look for someone that has local market knowledge, experience in negotiation. I think good communication skills is extremely important
Hmm.
and that has a good feel of the local market, wherever that market may be. And then somebody that is out for your best interests. They
Hmm.
have your back. And it always helps if one has a little bit of a sense of humor because it can become a
Yeah.
little stressful
Yeah.
at times. And then one that obviously loves their job, which I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. Well,
So.
speaking of, I know kind of off camera, we talked about raccoons being in
Yes,
houses. So, I mean, you
yes,
have to have a sense of humor to deal with that.
yes, absolutely. That goes to the effect of doing home inspections. Most people don't go in their attic or their crawl space. So
Mhm.
it's very important to do a home inspection because, like in this case, there was a whole nest of raccoons in the attic. I've never seen them move as quickly as they did, though, when we came in the attic to do that inspection. So that home inspections are extremely
So you
important.
did an eviction that day, but
Yeah,
of
exactly.
raccoons. Yeah.
Yes, of a
That
family.
goes.
And they say they always come back too.
Yeah.
So you
Oh,
need to relocate the raccoons, like capture them and
yeah.
take them like far away because
Okay.
they will return.
Yeah, I have.
So
I've had some experience
homing.
relocating groundhogs, so I get it. So again, tell everybody, is there anything else you want people to take with them today on Southern Indiana Now about real estate in general? Is there anything people need to know or get done?
Well, I think it's important when thinking about putting your house on the market to remember to depersonalize, declutter, and neutralize because you want the buyers to be able to picture themselves in that space. And if you
Mhm.
have it personalized, they may not be able to do that.
Yeah,
And then pricing your home is extremely important.
yeah,
Price it within the value of the market and select an agent that you can be a team with
yeah.
that works with you and really takes your best interest to heart.
I love that.
So
Well, give us your phone number one more time, or where can they find you online?
yes. So you can reach me on, I have a Facebook profile, Kathy Combsbird. And then my email is kathycombsbird@gmail.com. And my phone number you can call and text anytime is 812-521-9200.
Okay, fantastic.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
We'll be back right here on Southern Indiana Now. Welcome back to Southern Indiana Now. Kelly Trask, and we're hanging out with some special guests today. We've got a lot of nice folks lined up for you as we kind of give you a showcase what life is like in Southern Indiana. One of those coming up next for Hoosier Hustle is Bill Hyday with Hyday Property Group. This guy's known for all kinds of different circles because he makes stuff happen, and that's what we want. Let's talk about it. Welcome to the show. I know you have your hand in a lot of things, but renovating historical properties, what does that look like in Southern Indiana? I know that's a big question. I know you've had the opportunity to kind of dive in some different communities. So tell me about your experience with historical properties.
The transition into doing the historic downtown courthouse square, Main Street buildings, it's been fun. Always, tongue in cheek say they're just big dumb brick boxes, right? So yeah, that's in the Midwest. It's probably unfair to say anything that's specific to say Southern Indiana, but just in the Midwest, everything was built in a similar fashion, similar construction
Mhm.
practices, and we find that depending on the time period, that's how we, I guess, dial it down to Southern Indiana and Midwest specific.
Yeah, I love that. So as people are thinking about investing into downtowns, maybe looking into some other regions that might have some downtown spaces, what are some of the first things that they kind of need to be thinking about other than calling you? But what are some things that they can be thinking about that kind of helps put some steps into place to make that transition into a new space? I'm loving some things people are doing with their spaces. It's super fun. So what are some things they need to be
Right.
thinking about?
I'm going to go back to my college class I took, and it was a philosophy class, and one of them was start with the end in mind. Have a plan.
Mhm.
Have a plan. Okay, you identify a property. Hey, this may be a potential one that as a private owner I'd want to purchase and hire somebody, or else even renovate it myself. Start with, what do I want to do with it? Do I want to make this, 2 to 3 stories of office space? Do I want to make this mixed use with retail space on the main
Mhm.
level and apartments on the upper stories? Does the local market support that?
So, in your experience, what are some fun trends that you're seeing now, especially in Southern Indiana? Are you seeing certain type of business space needing, a home? Are you seeing a certain type of design people are looking for? Tell me what.
Yeah. So a couple of my favorite are taking the old historic buildings, and they all have a lot of the similar characteristics. They typically they're all masonry constructed, brick, and then people are exposing the brick, taking the plaster off the walls, exposing the conduits, the heating cooling duct work, the original hardwood floors. Basically scraping off all this stuff, through the
Mhm.
decades in the past, call it the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever, everybody covered those things up.
Mhm.
And we've reached a point here in the last, I'd say, probably 10 years, 15 years, where we're starting to uncover that stuff and take
Mhm.
it back to original woodwork. And people are really digging that. And I love that, finding the original architectural, because they always say, man, they just don't build them the way they used to. And they don't. And
Yeah.
we just don't. We don't here in
Mhm.
2025. So it's neat to see the old architectural things being uncovered and really highlighted. And then the second trend I really like is taking an old historic structure with all of its caveats, big, boxy, open, tall ceilings, and throwing an uber modern flair into it, but still having, say, the exposed brick, or still having the high ceilings
Mhm.
and the exposed ceiling joists, still having the original hardwood floors, but then doing, say, big obtruse light fixtures that are 8 feet long that they never would have had back in the day.
Mhm.
Throwing a lot of modern flair into it. It's a real cool look, and there's
Yeah.
been a lot of guys do that very successfully.
Mhm.
It's
I
neat.
love it.
It's real neat.
So, in all your times in doing renovations, have you uncovered anything super fun in
Oh
an old
gosh.
building, or have anything you're like, whoa, I did not expect this?
Every single time.
Really? Okay.
Every single
This is
time.
the stuff we need to
Every
know. What
single
have you
time.
found? What's fun out there?
The neatest things, I have a thing for the old, we call them ghost signs.
Mhm.
I did one up in Wabash, Indiana.
Okay.
The neighboring building was, let's call it like 1902. Building we were renovating was built in 1903. So they share a common wall. So the one that was built the year prior had a big, huge painted advertisement side of the building, and it got covered up 1 year later.
Mm.
So it took 1 year of weather. That was it. And they covered it up. So we started taking the plaster down and all the finishes down from building number 2, the newer building.
Mhm.
And there's this perfectly preserved sign that's over 100 years old. And super
Wow.
cool. Old, like I said, the original millwork
Mhm.
stuff's, a foot tall. The original, the brick, the transom windows over the tops of the doors, because they didn't have heating and cooling. So they'd,
Right.
have the transom windows. They'd have the, um, gosh, just all the ornate detail.
Mhm.
And it's honestly, unless a building's been completely stripped out, most of the time, way back in yesteryear, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, or whatever, they just they didn't take the stuff out. They just
Mhm.
covered them up. So
Yeah.
we're fine. We get to find that stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a,
No,
it's a
no
treat.
hidden bank bags of money, no secret notes,
Lots,
no
lots of
treasures.
lots of old whiskey bottles, old beer bottles, old.
Okay.
We did one just actually building next couple doors down from here.
Yeah.
Down in the crawl space, found a old. They were old like milk bottles. I guess there was a creamery here in town, and
Okay.
just I'm probably found 100 of them down
Oh,
there.
wow.
Old packs of cigarettes, old
Yeah.
just stuff that construction workers
Yeah.
back in the day just
Back in
left
the
behind,
day.
or whoever
I
left
love it.
behind.
I love it.
Artifacts.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for being part of the
Yeah.
show today. We are super excited that you could be here. And if people are looking to move into the area, renovate a space, what's the best way that they can reach out to you?
We have a website. The best way, honestly, that our company line, phone number is on the website. Email address info@highdaypropertygroup.com be the easiest, just because it's loud where I'm at and I don't hear the phone.
Yeah, I hear
and
you.
and we are busy. We are busy. But yeah, email is the best way, and glad to come out and talk old buildings with anybody.
All right. I love it. That's super exciting. Okay. Well, we will definitely be back on Southern Indiana Now. Keep it right here. I'm Kelly Trask. Lots of fun things happening. And of course, you found the Southern Indiana Now section of Hoosier happenings. And of course, lots of things are always happening. We want to make sure you're staying connected. Of course, coming up towards the end of the month, you can do wine and canvas at West Baden Springs Hotel. You can also check out a bourbon tasting train while you're over in that region. Also in Madison, Indiana, we've got the 30th annual Hot Luck and Fiery Foods Marketplace. So that's probably not for the faint of heart or the faint of tongue with all the different spices that you can experience there. That's in one of our favorite cities, Madison. So you can check that out. Of course, get your tickets for Crossroads Acoustic Fest. And that's coming up in Jackson County at the end of April. Tickets are on sale at crossroadsacousticfest.com. So excited to be featuring. We have Alex and Katie Bear with us today from Southern Indiana. Of course, we're talking with them in our Hoosier Happening segment because they're the happening folks right now. They've got some lot of different fun projects going on, including a new Airbnb coming to Southern Indiana. So we're going to dive right into that right now with them. We're going to talk to them all about renovations and what you need to look for and what you need to stay away from, and some of their own personal stories and gems that they've learned in their journey of doing some renovations. So super excited to have you all part of the show today. So let's talk about this new project that you're currently working on. It's a new Airbnb. So
That's right.
let's hear all about it.
Yeah, we've actually been live with our Airbnb since July, and it's gone really well. But we started renovating that about a year and a half ago, and it's been a really exciting project.
Yeah. So what made you pick Bologna as one of the areas? So someone listening that doesn't know where Bologna is, can you localize it for us? And then also say, how did this happen?
Yeah, sure. So Bologna is just straight south of Brownstown, just a few miles. You go down 135 and it takes you right to Bologna. And this was just kind of a unique opportunity where we had found a property that was for sale, had a really old, outdated building on it, and no utilities. And we just took the time and the effort to turn it into something that's amazing.
All right. I love that. So in that process, tell me about have you uncovered some fun things? I know you've done several different properties. So have you found any hidden gems or things you weren't expecting in a renovation world in Southern Indiana?
On that particular project, we really didn't. It was just building up from the ground. And so that was a really cool project. But as far as finding some interesting things, we've on one floor project where we had to fix some joists, we found some bones under the house and had to call the police.
You heard
for
it here
that.
first. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know how much you
It
want to
really
say about
wasn't.
that.
It really
It
wasn't
doesn't
anything
matter, I
too
guess.
bad.
That's just some bones. We don't need to
Yeah.
worry about it. It's all good.
No,
if you're
it
not
wasn't
missing any
newsworthy.
bones, you don't need to know. Yeah.
No, we did call the police as we're not human remains by any means. They were animals.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh,
yeah,
well, that's good
we're
to
all-
know. So,
yeah.
yeah. All right. So, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So, and you're doing all these different, renovations and so forth. What are some of the challenges you can run into about properties unique to Southern Indiana?
Probably the most challenging things that we run into would be things in the crawl space, major floor joist work, where we have to rip up subfloor, rip up all the floor joists and replace them all. It's a very long, time-consuming process. We try to get in and inspect all these properties before we buy them, just so we know what we're getting into first. But there's always things you miss.
So tell me about what's going to be unique with your Airbnb. And then what are some design trends that you're seeing? I know sometimes people watch the home remodel shows and you think, oh, I don't know if that's going to work here. Is this a design trend here? So
Sure.
is there anything unique to Southern Indiana? And then tell me about your Airbnb.
What I see coming back right now is wallpaper, and I think that's
Okay.
really fun. The florals are coming back in, and I personally love that. I see a lot of color drenching too, and that's an exciting trend. I think that's really fun. But as far as what we can use in a renovation, like for a cabin, for our Airbnb, we could certainly use some of those things. But as far as like flipping houses, we want to make people comfortable with buying a house, and not everybody's on trend. Not everybody cares to do that, but we found that if you use cool colors, maybe some tile, people love that. They're attracted to it, and so that's what we try to stay in that.
Fantastic. So tell me, Alex, about your Airbnb and what can people expect when they stay there?
Yeah, so it's a quarter mile off the road. It is tucked back into some woods. There's a nice big creek that goes that you drive across to get to it. And then you obviously have all of Jackson, Washington State Forest, all of Star Hollow, hiking trails, biking trails, pretty much anything you want to do, you can do within just a few minutes of there.
I love that. So is there anything that You mentioned colors, Katie. Is there any certain special colors that people are using right now? Is there like a color of the year that everybody's like, okay, let's get the paintbrushes out?
I see greens coming in this year.
Okay.
Yeah, I see that a lot now.
Green has been a popular color in
Yeah.
clothing too. I mean, maybe it's just the way
Absolutely.
that works. I don't
It-
know.
it
Yeah.
might
Well,
be.
apparently I'm not in style because I'm wearing black today. So that's how that works.
You look great, Kelly.
All right. So we have a lot of fun things. Tell me what you have kind of on track to look for as your next project.
Yeah, so projects are hard to find right now. There's not as much in the housing market that we can find anyway. So we don't have anything specific that we're working on at the moment other than just keeping this Airbnb flowing. We would love to get into some more Airbnbs. Always have our eye out for that, but it's a unique thing and it has to be in a specific area and a specific thing.
If people want to reach out to you that are listening to the show from all different parts of the area and thinking, I'd like to do that and kind of venture out into the Jackson County area for that, or maybe wherever it is that they're staying, how can they reach you? What's the best way to connect for your Airbnb?
Sure. Yeah. Airbnb.com is definitely the easiest way. We're also on VRBO. You can go on that website and book us there as well. It's something that fills up pretty quick. So you need to get your weekends picked sooner rather than later if you want to get in.
Name of that is Hollow Creek Getaway.
Hollow Creek Getaway. I love it. That's perfect. And we'll keep it right here on Southern Indiana Now. We'll be right back. I'm Kelly Trask. Lots of good news coming at you from Southern Indiana Now. And of course, we're visiting with Jackie Isaacs. She is with Habitat for Humanity, serving Clark and Floyd County. But I know sometimes those boundaries get blurred a little bit. So definitely want to make sure that we talk with you today, Jackie. So excited you could be part of the show. Tell us about what Habitat for Humanity is and how people can get connected with that.
Sure. Habitat for Humanity is a nonprofit. We serve Clark and Floyd County, as you said, and Habitat is a builder and a bank. So
Okay.
we are a nonprofit organization, and what we do is we write mortgages for qualified buyers and service them at 0% interest. So to keep
Okay.
it affordable for our buyers. So it's a pretty common misconception that it's a free house or a giveaway program, but it is not. It is a hand up and not a hand out.
Oh, okay.
Those mortgages.
Thanks for
then
clarifying
cover,
that. Yeah.
yeah. Those mortgages then cover our overhead costs, so the support that we get from the community can build more houses. So the more we build, the more we can build.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is a big common misconception then about Habitat for Humanity. So it's a program that helps people get into homes that haven't been able to for other different challenges.
Right. So a lot of our buyers are single moms and two-parent families that are just trying to get out of that rental vortex where their rent is costing a large portion of their income, but they can't get those savings. They can't qualify for a bank loan, or those homes that they can qualify for, there just isn't anything on the market in that price range right now. So we help them get into a mortgage that they can afford for as long as they want to be there.
Okay, Jackie. So if someone's listening and they know someone that does need a hand up, not a handout, like you mentioned, and that's kind of what the Habitat program is all about. What do they need to have together? How does that work?
Well, to qualify for a Habitat mortgage, you have to be able to qualify for a mortgage loan, which is just like any other bank. So you do have to have decent credit. You have to have steady income and, kind of have your 5-year plan ready to go. We serve Clark and Floyd County, but most of our communities around us are served by a Habitat affiliate, and all Habitat affiliates run a little bit differently. So if you're living in Metro Louisville, or if you're living in Orange County, Indiana, like all of us have our own affiliates, our own, ways to do things. So the best way to do is to go to habitat.org and search for your local affiliate online and go from there.
Okay, so let's talk about, I know you've been doing this position for a while. I'm sure you've seen a lot of amazing success stories and just peace. And I love this part. This is the Hoosier good news. This is like the heart of Southern Indiana. So Jackie, tell me about some of those experiences that you've had, some of those stories that have brought you joy. And let's talk about that.
I really love seeing the process that our home buyers go through. So we get a lot of people that are very nervous when they first apply. They've been living in rental housing probably their whole lives. A lot of them, their families don't own homes, so they've lived in a rental situation since they were small. And seeing them gain the confidence through the empowerment and the education process of knowing that they can do this, learning how to build a home, learning how to manage their finances, develop their own plan for the future, not only financially, but also with that stable home. That is just what makes me feel good about what I do.
Yeah.
Being able to see specific home buyers that have overcome addiction, or they're in their sobriety journey, and the home is part of it, and it's part of getting their family in a stable place. Um, those are some of my favorite stories as well.
Yeah, I love that. Can you tell me like what that must feel like to hand somebody the keys for the first time that didn't think that that was ever going to be part of their story, but here you are, Habitat for Humanity's helped made it happen. Tell me what that feels like. I just can't imagine.
It's amazing. It's a little bit bittersweet for me because so our home buyers, when they are approved for a mortgage loan, they actually start the Habitat process. So they have to complete what we call sweat equity, which is a minimum of 250 hours on the job site. They help to build their own homes. They help to build their neighbors' homes, but they're also in the classroom. They learn about community involvement, home maintenance, and they learn about financial literacy. So they're with us for about a year, up to a year and a half. And so when they get those keys, that's the start of one journey, but it's the end of their journey with us in terms of that sweat equity and that education. So it's a little bittersweet to hand them the keys to start this new life, but also to close the chapter of being a home buyer with us, where we are getting them ready for that chapter.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Jackie, thanks so much for being part of this show on Southern Indiana Now. What sorts of things can they do? Do they have to just be able to build homes? What sort of volunteer opportunities do you look for?
Well, if people are looking to get volunteer opportunities, you can go to our website. It's habitatcfi.org. We keep a calendar there online. You can see what kind of opportunities we have to get on the house for the build. But we also have, behind the scenes work, which is committee work and various different groups that help get us going and get us there to the build site. No experience is necessary. We teach how to swing a hammer, how to hang siding, paint, caulk, all those things. We can teach all of those things. Education and empowerment is part of our mission, not just for our home buyers, but also for the volunteers that show up. And if you are interested in getting involved, you can go to our website. You can email us, and if you're willing to jump in one day, one time, that'd be great. If you want to come back regularly, we can put you to work.
Well, thanks so much to Jackie for being part of our Southern Indiana Now podcast. And that is some major Hoosier good news. Lots of good things happening. So if you know you'd like to get connected with that program, or someone that needs to, you can reach out to Habitat for Humanity. She was talking specifically for Clark and Floyd counties, but really all of Southern Indiana. She can get you pointed in the right direction for resources that are right for you. We'll be back right here. Hey, thanks for tuning us in right here on Southern Indiana Now. Of course, all the places you can find podcasts, you can find us, as well as our YouTube channel, website channel, really all the places. You can also find us on social media. We're literally everywhere. If you have an idea for something you'd like to see on Southern Indiana Now, either one of our 4 segments that we like to focus on, you can send us an email at southernindiananow.com. You can also make sure you're staying tuned, because the next episode, we're going to be talking about liquid gold. What do you think that means? Well, I've got some fun things lined up for you to find out. Of course, thanks along with our producer, Erica Malone. She's always busy gathering all those fun little tidbits of things that you need to know about life in Southern Indiana. Of course, make sure you get your tickets for the Crossroads Acoustic Fest. We'll be talking about them as well this next episode. So all sorts of things connecting you to fun and life, what it's like here in Southern Indiana.